What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here, as always, on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am the Renegade JJ Williams, and today I'm going to be discussing from 2016 Countdown, starring Dolph Ziggler, Katharine Isabelle, Kane, Josh Blacker, and Alexander Kalugin. Thank you for joining me, everybody, once again here on another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. And I think I touched on this yesterday. I'm really looking forward to tackling this film because Dolph Ziggler is such a charismatic individual inside of the ring. I was really looking forward to seeing what he would bring to the big screen. And while there were a couple of dry moments in the movie, all in all, I think Dolph did a pretty good job, basically lived up to my expectations. And let's get right into it. The movie begins with Ray Thompson and his partner Al attempting to shut down a gun dealer named Nikolai. They're working undercover for the Seattle Police Department. Nikolai suspects that Al is in fact a cop, and he continues to press the issue, getting hostile and violent at every turn. Well, in an effort to calm the situation and get on with the deal, Ray shoots Al in the chest, right where his heart would be, dropping him to the ground. Nikolai then is basically like, well, okay, if the guy I thought was a cop is dead, let's continue on. Apparently, you're not a cop. You wouldn't have dropped your own like that. So Nikolai takes Ray to show him all the guns for sale. And just then, a swarm of police cars drive in on the scene, arrest Nikolai. And it's this point where we learned that they were undercover the whole time. Al is okay. He was wearing a bulletproof vest, obviously. When Ray returns to the precinct, his captain, Cronin, reprimands him for having shot his partner. Like, what were you thinking? And Captain Cronin is played by Kane. Well, while Cronin and Ray are going back and forth, Lieutenant Baker from the OPA, the Official Police Accountability, comes in and wants to hold Ray accountable, obviously, for his actions. Even though Al was wearing a vest, even though he's okay, she feels that Ray needs to be punished for what he did because it was unnecessary. Baker makes Ray turn in his badge and his gun, suspending him for 30 days with pay. I don't know about y'all, but if my work wanted to suspend me for 30 days with pay, I'm not really sure I would fight them on that. Just throwing that out there. The next time we see Ray, he is sitting in a child's room reading a story aloud, almost as if he's reading to the child. But there's no child there. The room used to belong to a boy named Mikey, who was somebody very close to Ray. And Mikey is no longer with us. I'm going to leave it at that for right now. If you've seen it, you know what's going on. If you haven't seen it, we're going to get a little bit later into who Mikey is because there's some exposition that comes later on. But at this point, we just know that Ray is reading a story to somebody who isn't there, who is very close to him. The next morning, Ray is called into the police precinct. And a package he had submitted to forensics prior to being suspended has come back, and they need his help to figure some of the information out. Because everything about the package seems to, in some way, shape, or form, tie back to Ray. They end up connecting to a Russian server, and they need a 5-digit password. So they try a number of things connected to Ray: birth date, address, etc. And finally, Ray suggests that they try the word Mikey. Well, when they put Mikey into the password, they get allowed into the server. They end up at a website with a live video feed, and they see a boy tied up with explosives strapped to him. The kidnapper demands a ransom of $2,112.35. Seems very random, very specific. A little bit later, we'll get into what all that adds up to. The kidnapper then gives Ray and his fellow officers 9 hours to come up with the money and deliver it. We then see what appears to be a random montage of like behind the scenes footage of a WWE show. We see superstars like Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns, Daniel Bryan, the Usos, Randy Orton, all getting ready to perform a live show. We then learn that Cronin has come up with the money, and this WWE show is the location. Leave it to WWE to find a way to promote their products within their own film. You definitely got to give them credit for coming up with a creative way to work that in, and work in a number of their superstars as well. I mean, like I said, not only do we have Dolph Ziggler and Kane in starring roles, but now you've got these other superstars. Granted, they don't speak, but you're still getting a look at some of them. Well, Ray drops the money at the specified location within the arena, and the kidnapper comes down and retrieves it. Ray then follows the kidnapper. As he is in pursuit, he comes upon WWE Superstar Rusev, who gives him a hard, like, hockey check into the wall because he sees Ray brandishing his firearm, chasing down the kidnapper. Ray tries to explain to Rusev that he's a cop. Rusev wants to see his badge for proof. Ray doesn't have his badge. He had to surrender it when he got suspended. So Ray takes a couple of steps back and super kicks Rusev in the face, knocks him down, and he's able to continue his pursuit. Eventually, Ray corners the kidnapper on a catwalk, but the kidnapper pulls out his own gun. In his other hand, the kidnapper holds a phone that can detonate the bomb strapped to the boy via mobile signal. Well, Ray doesn't take any chances. He's not going to wait. Fires a shot, catches the kidnapper right in the forehead, drops him before he can try to detonate the bomb mobily or anything. Lieutenant Baker then inquires as to where Ray's going, to which Ray asks her if he's reinstated. She tells him no. He asks if he's under arrest. She says no. So he's like, well, I'm going to go mind my own business then. And walks away. After he leaves, Lieutenant Baker follows Ray in her car. So Ray begins to drive a little bit recklessly. Lieutenant Baker is able to keep up with him, though. Twists and turns, screeching down the city streets. Well, Ray slams on his brakes, which causes Baker to rear end him. She gets out of the car, comes along to the driver window. The two exchange insults and everything back and forth. And Ray convinces Baker to come with him. Baker may not like Ray, but there's something about him and his desire with this case that she's intrigued about. So she joins him, and the two end up going to a tattoo parlor. And they want to see if the people at the tattoo parlor can ID the tattoos that were on the kidnapper. They figure either they can ID the tattooer or they know what the symbols and stuff means, the symbolism. Once they get the information that they need, they leave and they separate. Ray goes to see Nikolai at his house and see if he can get any information out of him. After already harassing him in the beginning of the film, and here's this other Russian guy who's kidnapped this boy. Nikolai deals in illegal guns. Maybe he's got some information. Nikolai ends up giving Ray the name of a Russian consulate who deals in explosives on the side. Well, while Ray is doing this with Nikolai, Baker roams the streets of a predominantly Russian area, thinking maybe that some of the citizens in the area, the neighborhood people, have seen this kidnapper and know who he is. Or maybe they've seen the boy and can point them in the direction of someone who knows the boy better. She ends up finding a young girl and an older lady. And when I say older, I just mean like, late 30s, maybe 40s, compared to the young girl who's probably 10. And they recognize the picture of the boy. So they take Lieutenant Baker to this room, to a man. Ends up discovering that this man is the boy's father. The man then gives Baker the name of his son and the name of the kidnapper. Apparently, the kidnapper was supposed to take the boy to Russia and instead kidnapped him for ransom. Ray goes to pay the Russian consulate a visit, but the Russian consulate has diplomatic immunity. And he doesn't want to cooperate with anything. He knows he can't be arrested. So Ray needs to try to use a little bit of brute force to get his point across. Since the Russian consulate deals in explosives, all Ray wants is the name of somebody who can make a bomb with the explosive in a quick amount of time. And the consulate, like I said, he doesn't want to cooperate, so Ray stabs him in the leg with a pen. And by using his brute force methods, Ray is able to get the name of the person that he needs. As he's leaving the Russian consulate's office, he gets a phone call from Baker, and the two meet back up. After interrogating the man that made the bomb, Ray and Baker get approached by Al and another police officer. They want to bring him into Cronin. But Ray's in the middle of his investigation. He's not trying to leave, so Al breaks out a can of mace and sprays Ray in the face, getting him and brings him back to the police precinct. Now, as Al is interrogating Ray, we learn about Mikey. Mikey was Ray's son. And Mikey was killed by a police officer who was off duty, who was driving drunk. Ray attempted to sue the city for $2 million, but lost the case. Charges were dismissed, case was dropped. Al and Cronin are believing that Ray could be involved in this kidnapping in order to try to get the money that he feels is owed to him from the state from the death of Mikey. Well, at the insinuation that Ray's behind this, Ray knocks Al out and then tries to escape the precinct with all these other officers now trying to catch him because he's assaulted an officer. Remember, he's suspended, so he's a civilian at this point who just assaulted a police officer. All hands on deck trying to catch him at this point. After a nice little chase sequence, Ray is able to escape, runs through the parking lot, and he spots Baker, who tells him to get in. He jumps into Baker's car and they get away. Now, while all this has been going on at the precinct, Baker has been able to figure out some information. The reason why this ransom is such a specific amount is because the kidnapper was trying to implicate some people in things. The $2 million implicates Ray and the money he wanted to sue for the city. The $112.35 is exactly how much money was in the kidnapper's brother's pocket when Ray arrested him and deported him. So the kidnapper is trying to bring these two things together to make one big to-do, if you will. Well, Ray and Baker decide to go to the spot where the kidnapper worked, to his old job site. They end up encountering Nikolai and his crew there. And they want to get revenge on Ray for all the times Ray has harassed Nikolai and roughed him up using unnecessary police force. There's an intense car chase scene that just goes back and forth through the job site. And it ends with a bomb being thrown into Nikolai's car and the bomb detonating, killing Nikolai, the other passengers, and destroying the vehicle. After this, Ray and Baker end up back at the precinct. Now, I don't remember how they knew to go back to the precinct. I must have missed that part, or they kind of glazed over it. But after just going through what Ray went through at the precinct and trying to fight off all the officers to escape, not sure I'd be so quick to go back. Just throwing that out there. But they end up back at the precinct, and they find the kidnapped boy in the boiler room of the police precinct. They get the boy, take him up to the forensics office so that they can try to work on the bomb. As they're heading to forensics, everybody they're passing, they're telling to evacuate the building because this boy is a bomb. Could go off at any moment. Get out of here, save yourself. They get up to the forensics building, and Ray tells Baker and the lead forensics officer to get out as well. If I'm going to go up, that's fine. But I'm not going to be responsible for you guys going up. So they take off. Ray sprays the bomb with nitrogen, freezing it. Freezes it just long enough that they can get the vest with the explosives on it very carefully off the boy. As soon as it's off, Ray scoops the boy up and starts to run as fast as he can away from the bomb, because the bomb is still set to blow. They just bought a few extra minutes to try to get out of there in time. The bomb goes off, blowing up that room, and Ray emerges from the building with the boy in his arms to a round of applause from his fellow officers. Cronin even gives Ray a hearty handshake and congratulates him on a job well done. Al comes up and then makes a snarky comment to him about how he seemed to know exactly where to go to find the kid. So Ray reaches back and punches Al one more time for good measure. You know, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I think that the pacing was good. I thought that Dolph Ziggler did a tremendous job in his role. I look forward to potentially seeing more from Dolph Ziggler in the future as far as acting roles and motion pictures, hopefully something more major than just a WWE Studios film. I thought Katharine Isabelle did a good job. On the one hand, you kind of wanted to see her and Dolph's character Ray kind of fall for each other at the end, like most movies would do. But on the other hand, I'm kind of glad they didn't go that way. I mean, they definitely seemed to have the chemistry once they got on the same page and started working together as Ray and Baker. So you could have seen them going there. But part of me is kind of glad that they decided not to go that route. Kane, I thought, did a good job. You know, definitely a change of pace from his role as Jacob Goodnight in the See No Evil films. But I was thoroughly impressed with this movie. I'm going to give my rating for Countdown is going to be 3.5 out of 5 stars. Like I said, I was thoroughly impressed. Some room for improvement, but overall, it was better than average. Make sure you get out there, get those hashtags trending on social media. Hashtag Casa D18 Studios. Hashtag Renegades Reviews. Hashtag Renegade Returns. And of course, the ever popular hashtag Shenanigans. We interrupt this episode of Renegades Reviews for an important announcement about
merchandising.
Merchandising? What's that?
Merchandising. Come, I'll show you. Merchandising, where the real money's made.
Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network for all the t-shirts you see here from the West Coast professor, Jeff Meacham himself. You can get shirts for the Jeff Meacham Network, Talk Wrestling, as well as the red and gold Meachamania shirts. And while you're there, don't forget to get your shirts of the Casa D18 Studios Brotherhood, the Dads on Wrestling shirt, the Renegade J.J. Williams, Statboy Sports Bar, and the hashtag Statboy Approved shirt. Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network and score your shirts today. Don't forget to get out there. Do what that commercial just told you to do. Support the Jeff Meacham Network and the Casa D18 Studios Brotherhood. Purchase our shirts for the Dad's Not Always on Wrestling, Statboy Sports Bar, the Renegade J.J. Williams, Meachamania, etc., etc. Make sure you tune in tomorrow, right here on Renegades Reviews, exclusively on the Casa D18 Studios channel, when I'll be talking about Knockout, starring Stone Cold Steve Austin. The first of a few different films I'll be featuring this month, starring the Texas Rattlesnake. Thank you for joining me. Make sure you leave your comments in the comment box below. I will get back to them as always. I appreciate the views. I appreciate the comments. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time.